Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to have you here with me today. So let's talk about Chiron, the North Node, soul contracts once again, and healing. Now, I made a soul contract video, I think like 2 weeks ago, and I will be making videos, on deeper spiritual insights, intertwined with astrology, of course, and my intuitive insights involved within my interpretation and techniques in astrology. So, when I discuss certain topics in astrology, of course, in all areas, I really try to take a multidimensional approach to my discussions because astrology is so multidimensional. There's so many different realms and aspects of, ethereal influence on astrology. Of course, we don't know everything about astrology, where it comes from, the origin, what's its true purpose, aside from guiding us potentially or giving us literally a map and, kind of like a fate and destiny, I don't know, just a fate and destiny tool for us to physically see, to integrate into our reality so our mind can understand some of this stuff. And all we have is the education that has been passed on to us. We have our own intuitive insights, and of course, the psychological imprinting that we place upon the planets and how the planets are orchestrated in a birth chart, geometrically speaking. But when it comes to soul contracts, there's so many aspects of the birth chart that allow us to really peek in a window to what our purpose here is in this life and what we are here to learn, because everything in life is a learning experience. And when it comes to learning, that usually means that there will be challenges in our life that require healing. And healing is feeling, healing is understanding, healing is sometimes hitting rock bottom. So we're forced to examine where the most suffering and hurt is in our life. And the soul contract will have challenges. The soul contract will provide us with obstacles, which we can't avoid. But those of us who are lucky to come to astrology most specifically, because we can discuss other divination tools that give us a peek into this window of the divine and purpose and, soul contracts. But astrology is different because whoever brought astrology to Earth, whoever first taught us astrology, if you believe in star people coming in and advancing our race, like way back when, because again, I could do a whole video on ancient sacred sites that were pretty much designed in alignment with certain star systems, and which means that the earliest of humans were obsessed and with the stars and the moving night sky. So as far as a divination tool to really guide humanity, guide the individual, astrology is the most important, in my opinion, and the most powerful. Because over time, meaning has been imprinted on the planets, and those planets are also now a reflection of who we are as people. So again, there's such a metaphysical conversation to be had in regards to why planets are identical to some aspect of our psyche and our behavioral patterns and our human experience. And again, I could do videos on all this metaphysical stuff. If you like when I talk about that, just leave a comment and let me know. Because I know some people here just wanted me to talk about astrology, and that's totally cool. But the soul contract, guys, let's get back on track here. The soul contract will have challenges, will have obstacles, and there are so many planets and aspects and signs and houses, depending on the configurations, that, yes, can signify challenge and obstacles, of course. But when I read a birth chart, there's a few major things I look at first, and then, of course, let the client, lead the reading, because I don't want to just jump in and read all this stuff to them for no reason. The client has to, let me know what they're here for. But as an intuitive and as an astrologer, I always look at very, very specific things to kind of get a snapshot real quick of what I think this person's about. And without getting into too many details, Chiron and the North Node are some of the most important that I look at. Because Chiron shows your sacred wound. And I'm not going to get into the mythology and how Chiron came to be, even though I probably will do another video on that alone, but I'm sure you guys already know that. And Google the mythology of Chiron and then how that associates with astrology, and you'll already know why it's called the wounded healer, and why it's the sacred wound in our life. And the North Node is our destiny. It is what we're supposed to be growing into in this world. That is very uncomfortable for us. We're not used to the energy of the North Node. We're not. We might have little insights throughout our life, like, ooh, maybe I should, if you had your North Node in Aries, you could be like, most of your life, maybe you'll be like, oh, maybe I should take more action in my life. Maybe I should be more independent here. Maybe I should speak up more and not depend on others. But sometimes in life, people with North Nodes in Aries, they're more comfortable in Libra. That energy. So Chiron and the North Node are extremely important for me, and especially in understanding someone's purpose and their sacred wound. Like what is their probably their most innermost, sensitive, vulnerable, something they probably don't like sharing with others. And it could be an embarrassing aspect of one's life, because they just can't get this one area of their life in order. So when it comes to healing and understanding one's life and understanding how one can move forward in your life and heal, and to really be a holistic human, Chiron teaches us so much. And the North Node is the energy we must embark on and embrace if we are to find any sort of inner holism and recognition of our own holism. Because the truth is we're already whole, we're already enlightened, we're already awakened, whatever you believe, in some sort of highest spiritual transcendent state. We just need to peel back the layers and understand what's the problems, what are the issues, what are the blocks in our life. In Chiron, the wounded healer, that placement in your chart where Chiron is, it is probably a placement where you feel weak, you don't feel strong, you don't feel worthy in. Other people might have placed challenges and obstacles in conflict upon you that made you feel this way. But the truth is what Chiron is symbolizing, in his story, in the mythology, is really at some point just surrendering to death, like surrendering and letting go of whatever the problem is, the expectation or whatever the wound is. In the moment you let go, and you're honest with the wound, over time, synchronicities can come to you, and the right people might enter your life, the right book may fall into your hand, the right YouTube channel might come to you, and you can slowly start to understand how that wound is okay. So Chiron shows us our most vulnerable part of our life. Like if you had Chiron in the 7th house, Chiron is probably teaching you that, your relationships have always suffered, in some way, shape, or form. You maybe have always felt alone, even if you were in a relationship. There's just something with you in a relationship or one-on-one partnerships of any kind that just seem to never work out, or they just seem to never be as you expect them to be. You never maybe feel that connection that you long for. So what is one to do when that constantly is occurring in one's life? Well, to let go of the expectation that every relationship you have is what you dream it to be. Maybe what you need to do is accept that, or maybe it's, most of the time in my experience, it can mean you need to have a better relationship with yourself before you can truly have a deep connection with other people. So there could be some kind of lesson you need to learn about your own, relationship to how you view yourself. Or some people are just destined to help others, and maybe there's a time where, the Chiron wound, because it's the wounded healer, sometimes you need to help other people with where that wounding is in your life. So that's another big part of Chiron, because the wounded healer also teaches other people about that particular area of your birth chart. So a therapist can be a really good example for Chiron in the 7th. And for some reason, being gravitated towards helping others can maybe even lead you back to helping yourself at some point, and then your relationships end up flourishing in your future. Because over time, it takes maybe about halfway through your life to sometimes, have more challenging transits turn into positive ones, where we get to use them and learn from everything that the negative transit taught us. Just like our North Node, we don't come into this life embracing the North Node. The North Node sort of evolves as we grow older, and it's our mission, soul contract mission, to embrace the North Node energy or not as we get older. Because the truest happiness and fulfillment that we will have in one's life, that our soul signed up for, is to move in the direction of the North Node, to embrace all of what that represents. Because when we do that, it will bring us, believe it or not, a sense of peace and harmony. And same with the Chiron placement. It's our sacred wound. It is the weakest part of our life. It is what we suffer through the most, as far as, again, when I say suffer, I'm talking about like an emotional level. Like Chiron is similar to like the moon in a way, like just in the way that like I feel like we deal with Chiron wounds really inside, and it's something that we really repress, and it's on our mind all the time. It's like an undercurrent of suffering. Like, for example, in the 7th house, it's just like there's always an undercurrent of I can't connect with people one-on-one. It's very difficult for me to form my own relationships and loving relationships, which then would lead people, if they really want to embrace the Chiron wound, they can share their experience with that with other people. They can help other people who are suffering in that area of their life. And then over time, by helping someone else, you simultaneously help yourself. And it's like by divine grace that miraculously through the halfway point of your life, other people start loving you in the way you want to be loved. Other people, you'll start meeting connections that get you, and you don't feel so alone in a relationship anymore. That's just like a really good example with the 7th house. So the sacred wound is something we're supposed to offer the world as well. We're supposed to give that wounding back in some way. Even if that's just always being a guiding light for friends or a family member or something. But being able to talk about the wound and sharing the wound will end up healing the wound. And the North Node, and that's okay. Let me just finish one thing with that thought. And as far as healing in our soul contract, that is essential. Because there could have been something in a past life and something that occurred in your early childhood that made this wound activate in this life so strongly. And it's something we must deal with in order to clear the karma and to clear, the emotional trauma from that. And that's why it's part of the soul contract so dominantly. And the North Node is a part of the soul contract so dominantly because it is that part of your life, that zodiac sign energy, that is very uncomfortable for us. That's the direction, whatever the reason is for our soul for being here, why we signed up. That's what we need to embody. Like if you had your North Node in the 4th house, it may be very uncomfortable for you to want to stay home all the time, or for you to want to have a family or to spend more time with family, because you may want to always be focused on your career, or maybe you're a workaholic. And the reality is if you want to live a more peaceful, harmonious life and feel more grounded, you need to balance out your work life with your home life. Now, I'm not saying make amends with your family and shit if they're bad or not good people for you, but it is like you should focus more on building your own home. You should focus more on, finding inner peace within yourself, because the 4th house is also about your inner home within you. And not so much on your career and getting famous or workaholic 24/7, even though that placement will make you very focused on your work and you'll be passionate about something you do with work. But to maybe work from home, to maybe, build a home for yourself that you constantly have, that's a part of your life as an anchor. So that might be uncomfortable for someone with the North Node in the 4th house, but still, you must move forward towards that. And then halfway through your life, it'll start to make sense, on having that peace, having that groundedness. And that will help you heal something. Because believe it or not, people with the North Node in the 4th house, their career makes them suffer. Their workaholic tendencies make them suffer, and they know that. But it's like an obsession sometimes. So the way to combat that, and the beautiful thing about astrology is it shows us, okay, well, if you want to fix this part of your life but still have a great career and still work hard, try to embody more being around your home. Set roots in the ground somewhere. Find a place of refuge that you can call a home. Start a spiritual practice that reconnects you with your inner home and your inner self. And that's the point of the soul contract and healing. So the North Node is an extremely important part for healing and moving forward in one's life based upon what we signed up to be here for. And Chiron shows us one of the weakest points in our life that truly make us suffer inside on a deep level emotionally. And the only way to cure the Chiron wound is to accept it, to let go, to find the right modalities that can help you in that area of your life, and to find a way to help others with that. And I can't necessarily tell you that unless I'm in a reading with you and you tell me more about your life. Then of course I can intuitively understand you better. But from my experience, offering my wound with other people's wounds, or my wound in the same, the same area of focus in one's life, then usually that healing comes back to me. And that's why I brought up the 7th house, because that's just a really good example. It's like sometimes people who become counselors have Chiron in the 7th house, but then over time, they find someone in their life to heal them. because in a way they need a counselor, you know? So it's fascinating, you know, how Chiron works in a healing journey for our destiny. So guys, that's all I have for you today. Of course, I can go on and on about this subject, but I do hope that this helped you. I hope this brought some clarity to you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That would really help the channel's growth. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Much love.